course, here in the United States, we had a president that we thought would never come back either. And, it wasn't long before people were comparing Yoon and Trump, the allegations of leading an insurrection, both kind of seen as central figures in a sort of a new right wing movement, a party that sort of has stood by him despite kind of the early signs that it would not, the demonization of the left that we've seen from both of them. I mean, Yoon even had supporters storming the courthouse recently. Where does this comparison hold up, in your opinion, and where does it fall apart? Max, do you want to weigh in on that
Uh,
first?
yeah, sure. Um, yeah, the comparisons, it's kind of funny since Trump entered politics, every South Korean politician has been compared to Trump. Even the liberal opposition leader has been compared to Trump. Um, Insofar as we sort of take the Yoon and Trump comparison seriously, I don't know. They are very different, but obviously there's the whole insurrection charge connection. But I think that Yoon's support for Yoon is far less broad or robust than Trump. And this connects to your earlier question about, why is everybody backing him, right? Does he have a personality cult, behind him? And that's just not the case. I think, um, the reason his party's still backing him is they are probably finished if he gets impeached. They're the party that produced two impeached presidents if his impeachment goes through. So they'll all be, you know, they'll have no longer any reason to exist. Um, and I think the people who are sort of appearing at his protests, they are sort of the small subset. They're like a fixed quantity in South Korean politics, I think, where they'll sort of respond to any sort of anti-communist rhetoric. And these same protesters have been protesting every week pretty much in the city center every week for months, for years. Um, and they're only really getting attention now. So it's not a new phenomenon. They've been there, for years, and they're getting attention now because of this whole impeachment crisis. So I think people are really over-indexing how much support he actually has. And the polls, obviously journalists sort of reflexively turn to polls as a gauge, but I think it is a time to be very skeptical of them because, even the parties are stumped. They don't know what's happening. They all have theories. Is it some sort of campaign among the far right to sort of, massage the polls, right? To actively respond to them, to calls. So yeah, nobody knows, so we should take it with a grain of salt.
There's a related question here from one of our viewers about the role of social media and whether that's been a factor in deepening the divisions and leading to this polarization that you were talking about, Jumin. We've seen other democracies destabilized by this. This viewer is asking if there's any hint that China or North Korea um, is involved in trying to stoke divisions within South Korea.
I can answer this as well. So this is Yoon has been accusing China and North Korea of, instigating this whole thing. So it's a conspiracy theory. I'm sure there are South Koreans who are pro-China, who are maybe even pro-North Korea. But there's really no evidence to suggest that that had any bearing on this, current crisis. Yoon's supporters have been accusing pro-Chinese protesters of infiltrating the impeachment protests, right? And sort of, you know, boosting the appearance that, people want him impeached. But again, no evidence. Um, if anything, a lot of people have been observing that North Korea has really exercised a lot of restraint in all of this. Um, one of the charges, one of the things that the former defense minister is accused of is sending drones, you know, months ago over the border, presumably to prod North Korea into, you know, attacking or some sort of trying to instigate some sort of military conflict that would justify martial law. And North Korea didn't take the bait. Um, so yeah, I hope that answers the question. I'll let the others add.
Yeah. Um, I think the social media, if you YouTube is social media, I think Yoon was really influenced by far right YouTubers, and they are the supporters of Yoon, and they are a lot of them organized like the protest that happened throughout the year, and so that literally uh, probably some critics say that it shaped Yoon's uh, 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 political view. So I think that there was definitely influence of the social media, and still the one of the reason the poll is high is also because of his supporters by the YouTubers participate positively and actively to the polls.
So I want to. We've started getting into some questions from the audience here, so I want to just encourage people to put their questions in the chat. I have a number of questions of my own, which we can stick on if we don't get enough people. But here's one right now. With Yoon impeached, what happens in terms of governance? Is there an election? Does someone want to walk us through the mechanics of uh, of where we go from here?
I can talk about that briefly. I might get some facts wrong, but I can lay out what I know. So basically, the Constitutional Court is now deliberating the Parliament's impeachment vote against Yoon. So they're going to decide whether to remove Yoon from office or you know get him to return to office. Um, and we don't know when the court is going to decide. But normally, given the past cases, it could take a couple of months or several months. The court is not going to wait on for another year because of this political, uncertainty. So the court is going to make hand it out. They're going to rule within a few months. And after that, within 60 days, I think, the country has to hold a presidential election to pick a new leader. And in the meantime, now the interim president, Sang-mok, who is a finance minister, he's gonna stay in the office. He's gonna be the interim leader if Yoon is gone, and until we pick a new leader. I think that's the gist of it for now.
Got it. I've seen the name Lee Jae-myung mentioned as a potential next president. Who is that? Uh, is that the sort of the odds-on favorite right now?
Yep. He very narrowly lost the last presidential election to Yoon, and he is the considered the front runner, if Yoon is impeached and he's out.
Got it. Okay, some more questions from the audience. What is the role of the military? Um, this is from Patricia Krantz, the head of the OPC. So, and she says, I covered the fall of the USSR, and the KGB troops did not want to attack Russians. It sounded like one panelist said the military did also not want to attack citizens. Is that accurate? I think that's what
Yeah,
you were saying, Chang, right?
yeah. I, I, I I think the military's role is I just heard one of the critics who used to be the former soldier. He said the role of the military is to keep the order of a constitution. That's how they were trained and educated. So to keep the constitution, they know when they were ordered to arrest the the assemblyman, they knew it was against the constitution, and that really helped them not to act on their order. So that's I really think that's what happened.
I think a quick answer I mean to add to Chang, I think some military commanders testified at Parliament, and it shows kind of division within the military as well. So I think the military's legal department kind of had a review over the marshal, and they kind of concluded it's not legitimate. And some military generals and commanders, they had second thoughts about this, implementing martial, and they even ordered, their sole troops not to attack or not to, get in fight with against the civilians. So I think that's also what happened as well.